Section 4, Conclusion, Golden Rule and the Two Greatest Commandments. Chapter 11, The Golden Rule and Dealing with People. The Golden Rule is an idealistic notion that we all should aspire to live by. This philosophy suggests that in dealing with other people, we should behave as we'd like to be treated. While the phrase treat others as you'd like to be treated is generally interpreted as treat others well, there are many different interpretations of this philosophy. Whether you apply it in the workplace, home, or in your personal life, the Golden Rule applies to any aspect of your life. Ethics. Traditionally, ethical principles are abstract ideas that provide an ultimate ground for understanding and justifying moral prescriptions. Ethics plays a very concrete role in human interaction. The Golden Rule is not a theoretical object, but rather a lived ethic that we use to make ethical judgments every day. If we apply it to our everyday interactions, we will be able to create cutting-edge theoretical forms. While the most familiar version is the one that says, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you," ethical philosophy has barely given it much thought. The Golden Rule is the most universal moral code, and it can be found in many religions and systems. The core principle of the Golden Rule is simple: treat people as you want to be treated. If you're feeling apprehensive about the Golden Rule, don't hesitate to ask for clarification. In addition to ensuring that you're not violating the Golden Rule, you should also try to consider other ethical considerations, like the needs and desires of others. Empathy. As an adult, you may have a hard time expressing empathy. You may not know the person very well, or perhaps they are dealing with a situation outside of your comfort zone. Still, you can make an effort to show empathy by following these 3 steps. First, learn to recognize the emotions of others. Empathy is a powerful emotion. Oftentimes, people with strong empathy have more friends, and their relationships are more satisfying. Empathy is an essential quality for successful interpersonal relationships. Lack of empathy is a symptom of personality disorders such as narcissism and antisocial behavior. If you want to become a better mental health professional, learning to show empathy is crucial. Second, listen to the feelings of others. Show empathy by responding to the behavior of others with understanding. This will establish rapport and foster relationships. Whether you're dealing with students or colleagues, show empathy by responding to their behavior and needs with a kind tone of voice. It will go a long way in building rapport. You can even download a one-page version of these tips and then add your own content. In addition, you can use the Platinum Rule to develop empathy. People who practice the Platinum Rule customize their services to meet their specific needs. They do not follow the Golden Rule principle of reciprocity. By doing so, they understand the needs of each person and begin to feel empathy. They will be more likely to show kindness and empathy to others if they are treated with compassion. And when you do, you will have a better chance of making friends and gaining trust. Reciprocity. The ethics of reciprocity has been used as a moral principle throughout history to resolve conflict. Although it may not tell you right from wrong, it does give you moral coherence. Reciprocity arises in virtually every written language culture on Earth. Consequently, different cultures use it to resolve conflict. Some believe the ethics of reciprocity are related to human nature. The Golden Rule can be understood in a variety of ways. It can be applied to relationships between people, such as a hypothetical situation. The opposite of the rule is also true. It requires that we give others what we have received, and that reciprocity must be returned in kind. However, reciprocity cannot be a one-way street. There are many nuances to this idea, and we cannot apply it to every situation. Reciprocity can also be applied to conflict resolution. It may be compatible with both reciprocal altruism and cooperative egoism. In a game of iterated prisoner's dilemma, the dominant player may betray the others. Forgiveness is an alternative to revenge. The Golden Rule can be integrated into a high-road alternative. It requires us to treat all people with the same respect that we would want from them. The Golden Rule is designed for small group interactions, and failure to reciprocate will be obvious and not hidden as an institutionalized cooperation. Moreover, the pressure to conform to group norms will be felt and the sanctions applied for those who take more than they give. It will be much easier to conform to group norms than it would be in a larger society. Unlike other social interactions, groups tend to draw people with similar values. It would be unfair to expect extraordinary acts of kindness from others when they don't have to. Idealistic form. An idealistic form of dealing with people has many different reasons and motives. It is a form of reality that is rooted in the belief that the world is a better place when people live in harmony. In other words, idealists seek to make the world a better place by doing good. This type of person is highly idealistic, and they will only share their inner values with those they respect. While they enjoy discussions about all sorts of subjects, they will often be unwilling to compromise if their values are challenged. Consequently, they may withdraw from situations in which their talent is not recognized. They may also have a difficult time expressing themselves, and they may lose confidence when under extreme stress. Some philosophers have claimed that idealists represent the position of metaphysical monism. While Descartes was the most flamboyant metaphysical dualist, he was not necessarily an idealist. Descartes is not a proto-idealist. He was a radical monist, and Spinoza was a traditional materialist. However, he was not the only philosopher who had idealism as his guiding philosophy. Another popular idealistic form of dealing with people is Kant's Transcendental idealism. The philosopher G.W.F. Hegel argued against materialism, the belief that everything in the universe is finite, and that all of its components are connected to one another. Hegel called his doctrine absolute idealism, in contrast to Berkeley's subjective idealism. As a result, he held that the good is the highest idea, and that all other ideas are inferior to it. An idealist also believes that human beings are a part of nature, and are physical creatures. They cannot escape their materiality. The mind, however, is independent of the physical body and can control it. This embodied mind is located in a particular social milieu, and is based on an individual's ability to grasp ideas. If these idealistic ideas are true, it is the only form of dealing with people that can help humanity live in harmony. Impact on business leaders. The book Good to Great by Jim Collins explores the practical wisdom of business leadership, and the impact of the Golden Rule in particular. The ethic of reciprocity is often referred to as the Golden Rule, and is a universal standard that states, treat others as you would like to be treated. It is practiced in hundreds of cultures and intersects with workplace and business behavior in a number of ways. The Golden Rule applies to leadership in all aspects. Firstly, it means being fair to your employees. You must treat each employee with respect, and do not punish them for wrongdoing. In short, you must treat each and every employee as a human being and apply the Golden Rule to all activities. Only then can your employees see you as a soulful leader who respects them as an individual. In addition, a company that practices the Golden Rule will likely see better customer satisfaction and higher repeat purchases. Workers will be more motivated and satisfied if they are treated with kindness and consideration. This approach can lead to higher performance, and it has a positive impact on all areas of a business. Likewise, a company that values customer service will have a competitive advantage if employees feel they are appreciated. It is also a good way to boost employee motivation. The Golden Rule also applies to relationships between managers and employees. The best companies understand that relationships are more important than transactions. Similarly, the best managers treat people as human beings rather than numbers. By following this advice, you will go a long way. You will see that your customers will appreciate your efforts and help your business thrive. The best way to implement the Golden Rule into your business is by following these principles. When applied properly, the Golden Rule will guide your actions and ultimately result in sustainable, long-term growth. The two greatest commandments. Jesus taught us the two greatest commandments. Love the Lord with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. To keep these commands, we must follow God's law. Listed below are some of the ways that we can obey these commandments and see how they improve your life. There is no better way to live your life than to keep them. Love of God. Jesus said that the second greatest commandment and the Golden Rule are the same. Both relate to love. The first commandment is about loving God wholeheartedly. The second is about loving your neighbor as yourself. Jesus equates these two commands as the fulfillment of the law. According to the Bible, the first and greatest commandment is to love God with all your heart, soul, and mind. The second is to love your neighbor as yourself. These two commandments are the most important ones in the entire law. The two most important of these commandments are not only related to the first but are intertwined. Without the first, we would be committing sin and breaking God's law. The second great commandment is to love your neighbor as yourself. These two commandments are summarized in the Bible. The first three are about loving God with all your heart, soul, and mind. The sixth is about loving your neighbor as yourself. These two are the most important commandments because they apply to everyone. When we think about these two commands, we tend to think of them as a long list of rules and prohibitions. However, these are not the only commands in the Bible. The second commandment, love of God with all your strength, says that the heart is the spring from which all issues in life come. Similarly, when we love God with all our heart, we would long for the presence of the Holy Spirit and the power of His presence. But how do we know we are truly loving God with all our heart? Ultimately, we can only know this by reading the Holy Bible. When we receive God's love, we can love our neighbor. This love comes from accepting His love and making it our own. Jesus taught us to love our neighbor by receiving the love of God. In other words, we are to love God and our neighbor with that love. But the two great commandments are also related to our own actions. The first is the most important, and the second is the most difficult. Love of neighbor. The second great commandment is often referred to as the Golden Rule. Jesus defined love as loving your neighbor as you would yourself. It is a law that is both universal and particular. Its purpose is to make you feel good about yourself while doing good to others. In addition, we are told not to commit adultery or theft. Both laws are based on the concept of doing unto others what we would want them to do to us. The second commandment sums up the spirit of the last 6 commandments. These commandments deal with our personal relationship with God and with our fellow man. Moreover, if we love God first, we can fulfill the 5th commandment without violating the other 6. In addition, the 5th commandment may fall into the category of horizontal or vertical relationship. However, it is critical to understand that the love of God is the prerequisite for fulfilling the first 2 commandments. This passage in the Bible, Matthew 22:34-39, is the foundation of our relationship with God and with our neighbor. It is our duty to love our neighbors as ourselves. We can only do that by acting with love for God and our neighbor. We can't love others until we love ourselves first. We should love our neighbor in the same way we love ourselves. This is our greatest contribution to the world. Recommended further reading. Check out more books by the author at OASISNinja.com. Leave a review. I would really appreciate it if you would leave a review on Amazon after your purchase, and let me know what you think, whether good or bad. It will go a long way in improving the quality of this book and books in the future. Thank you.